We're live. And welcome to another edition. Well, welcome to another edition of Life is People, man. And welcome back to my good old, my dear old friends, Riff Rath. Well, first of all, I can see you there, my friend. So I know you sort of mentioned the lads were popping in. So before we go any further, how are you getting on tonight, man?
Good, man. It's been a while since we played the gig. I think we're trying to get one a month then. But in this town, that's pretty difficult.
Well, yeah, man. Let's take this back then, because the last time I kind of spoke to you, we were having that backstage. That was a show in itself, man. Were you backstage on that phone? So
well, yes, I can't spot a phone so far. Tim.
But the point I'm alluding to is you were. It was just before you were about to play the Stone Free festival, obviously the Rainbow Fest, man. So let's start beginning with that, man. I mean, talk me through that day. How was it? And is it...
I was in Australia at this point in time, and got a message to say, like, we were kind of like said, someone said to us, look, yeah, we'll get you on Stone Free, blah blah blah. Never heard back from them, and then I have another mate that heard through the grapevine that we'd been dropped, but no one had actually told us. So then all of a sudden I got an email out of the blue just going, do you guys want to play it again? And of course, you know, we just went, hell no, you know, you stiffed us right. No, of course we didn't. We fell on our knees, like, straight away, gargling the corporate cock, you know. But yeah, man, look, you know, any chance that you get to play something like that with such prestigious musicians, you know. I mean, we opened the festival in the foyer to basically the cleaner and his dog, but it's still the, you know, prestige of playing with you know, the likes of Richie Blackmore, you know, and the Sweets and bloody, you know, who else? Let's see. Oh,
well, someone else has decided to join.
Hey,
how you doing, man?
It's going to be one of these clown car situations where they just one at a time come out.
Well, man, just give me some reflection of the Stone Free thing, man. So, I mean, what was your reflections, my friend?
Oh, hang on a minute, there's a fisheye camera coming in here. You look really great on the fisheye, by the way. My reflections were great. We shouldn't have built the stage. That was a really bad mistake. Because being roadies, we thought we'd go in at 6 a.m. and build the stage and build the whole lights and be really feeling fresh at fucking 1 o'clock by the time we got to the stage. Yeah, which really wasn't the case. Like, Charlie had no sleep, his head was on the microphone. Yeah. So we won't do that next time, but it was worth trying, just for at least once. Well, no, apart from that, I mean, it was like playing to the entrance to a big Tesco's on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's as much as I can get it.
On Dole Day.
Well, that kind of leads me to two questions, really. I mean, the first being, did you have any kind of volume restrictions on what what you could play at? And again, what the acoustic?
Yeah. Well, we left that up to them. Yeah. Well, they pulled out all the stops and got, like, the kids from the local university, I think. It felt like that anyway. If they're listening, good job, boys. But, like, you know, always being first band on, it's you're always the tester band, you know. And we were trying to be as courteous as possible, but, you know, yeah. We're Australians, so fuck that.
So, yeah. No, that was what I was going to say. I mean, the acoustics must have been shocking, dude, because, you know what I mean? You're like, you said you're playing in a foyer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was okay. I mean, like, you know, my bass was rebounding off the roof about 75 meters away, but, like, yeah, I mean, like...
Yeah, when you hear your last riff, like, 1 minute later, you know you're playing, like, you know, open space.
But no, I mean, in terms of the gig, it was actually okay. I mean, it's fine. I mean, like, you know, we were the tester band, but it wasn't...
We got paid.
Yeah, we got paid, yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it wasn't amazing, but, like,
we got to watch Richie Blackmore, so fucking, yeah. Exactly.
Well, but that was going to lead me to my next sort of question, dude. And obviously, I've never seen Richie Blackmore in person, so I've only ever watched him on YouTube, man. So what was that experience like in person, man? Because, again, you can hear many varying stories what it's like, depending on what the gig's like. I've heard he's either really good or really bad, or...
It was awesome.
Okay, cool.
Get off my ass.
I'm slowly getting pushed into like the top corner. Well, you know. Hi.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yourself?
Fine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, while you're here, Chaz, I was something I was going to mention the last time we had a conversation, dude. I loved your kind of intro to the band's the cover version, and the little black and white little film you did, man. That was a piece of genius, dude.
Yeah, the contest thingy. Yeah.
I wonder where you got that idea from.
The thing is that some people got ideas, some people do it.
I'll give you that one. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
So no, so I mean, you're sort of saying that the Richie, it was actually, he actually sort of, it was a good gig, yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Well, no, talking about Stone Fruit.
Oh yeah, it was great.
We played well. Sounded pretty good.
So it's always
we gave it our best.
It's always a bit tricky when you got an early slot, but you just make shift. There was actually quite a decent amount of people for that.
Yeah, they were all walking in going to Sainsbury's. That's the thing, they all past us when they were going to Sainsbury's. So like, it seemed like we had a good crowd, but really they were just stopping and passing by, going, "What the fuck is that lot going on over there?"
Dude, I mean, that kind of leads me, man. I've always wondered at something like that. The actual sort of like event itself, when Rainbow are playing, I mean, what's the demographics of the people indoors, man? Because I mentioned this, I've been to Maiden, and I'm always like amazed by you get a kid at 5 right through to some old rocker who was there back in '79 and back in the day. So what was it like at Rainbow? Was it kind of like an old crew or young crew or quite a mix?
Yeah, there were lots of people reliving the past. There was everything. There was everything, but there was, I guess, for that sort of guy, there's definitely a lot of people that are familiar with it and have been for a while. So I didn't see too many 17-year-olds running around, but then again, I was a bit drunk. So yeah, there were lots of people who probably would have seen them back in the day. Yeah, it was fucking great, man.
There's quite a decent amount of kids as well. I think there's like people tend to bring their kid to that kind of music before these guys are gone. Really, that's the idea. That kind of passing the rock and roll kind of art to younger kind of generations. But it was no, I don't know. Like, it was a bit of everything. Obviously, you got the old bikers, the old rockers, and yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
But we're also living up to a tradition today. So like I said, so when we formed the band, David Bowie died. When we had our first rehearsal, Prince died, and now we're playing a gig tonight, and the fucking guy from Steely Dan died.
Yeah, man.
We do a European tour. There's no fucking going to be left. I tell you, man.
Might as well kill us right now.
Well, on a kind of like, maybe taking a left turn sort of a bit here, but I mean, I have to ask, dude, and I know it's a bit serious, but what's the reflection of playing live, especially someone like that Stone Free gig, and even around just London at the moment, with what's gone on in the summer with the terrorist events? Because again, maybe because for people who are kind of outside London and stuff, they don't get kind of reflection. But dude, I was speaking to some people recently who've been to gigs, and they said it's like going through an airport. You get patted down, you get. So what was it like, actually being a band? Did you have any kind of restrictions on, did you feel any kind of the tension or any kind of different feel to, playing, especially at a big thing like the Stone Free?
None whatsoever.
No, not really. I mean, to be honest, because we're doing our roadie work, I mean, we were working at Hyde Park at the BST festival, and we had like a big terrorist talk down about what might happen if this and that might happen. And then the basic finality of the thing was rum. So, like, if anything happens, you just fucking run.
And there was a little sub-clause, if there's any women and children near you, push them in front of you.
Yeah. Step on it.
Or maybe I made that up and that was just what I was going to do.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, like, I didn't feel it, but not really, no, we were just going to play it. I mean, like, man, if some dude was going to come with a gun and machete, I don't know, maybe throw a Rickenbacker at his head. I have no idea. Like,
we were working, I don't know if they said that already, but we were working that day. The crew, and actually But, like we actually, in the morning before playing, we were there at 6 in the morning to load in a lot of backline, a lot of gear, like lights and shit like that. And we never had any kind of briefing about any sort of terrorist attack possibility or whatever. It's just literally we went there, did the job, and then fucked off to where we had to be to actually set up and play.
Yeah, I guess the only other time it affected it was like we were going to be doing a gig for Blondie. We were working on a gig for Blondie, setting them up for like an Amazon Live gig, and that was the night after the Manchester attacks. And it actually got cancelled. So we turned up the next morning not knowing what was going on. I didn't even check the news. I didn't even know there was a bomb in Manchester. But we turned up, and the whole thing had been cancelled, and there were like FBI guys wearing fucking black suits and sniffer dogs and all that kind of shit. Yeah. And it's all a little bit, okay. But then again, you know, we got the day off, so it wasn't so bad. But yeah, I mean, like that was the only real effect I had from it, was that people cancelled gigs and like there were loads of security around everywhere. But I don't really, I mean, for us, I mean, I don't know. You just run. I
think terrorists, we don't have to really worry because terrorists only go where there are big crowds. So I think we've been safe for quite a while. We've got our weapons of mass distortion on the stage. He did it. I've been waiting for 3 minutes to get that in. Yeah, I don't think we've got any worries. So not for a while anyway.
So basically, what you're in short saying is that basically, if there's any war scenarios, we just need to drop Riff Rath in it, and then there's people will scatter, and then all the peace will happen.
Fucking lifesaver.
Give us half a salt, we'll have the room cleared, mate.
Yeah, Christ. Mate, keep your terrorists away. Fucking get us on the.
Emptying rooms since fucking 2016, mate.
And obviously, we touched on this briefly when I was last mentioned to Chaz about the little the video he did for it. But and I've got to ask you truthfully, man. And again, I mean, feel free to or not to answer. But you put the choice up between the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix, and you obviously left that to a vote. I mean, privately, did you have a kind of preference to either which one you wanted to play yourself?
Yeah, man.
Oh, come on. It's just,
to be honest, we had both of them down anyway, so it doesn't matter.
We did both. So it's not my preference. It's really it was
all about the royalties. Who we're going to have to pay out more to?
The tax man, anyway.
Yeah.
The tax man always wins, mate.
No, I think the thing with tax man. Sorry, the thing with tax man is that it's quite relevant to the situation anyway. So I think that's why a lot of people was fucking wrote this the cover because I received a fucking letter from HMRC that plowed me like no tomorrow for no reasons. So I was just like, let's do some covers. And yeah, no, that was it. But yeah, no, it's generally like the two covers. The other one will release pretty soon because it's already in the box. So we'll release it pretty soon. But yeah, so no, we did both anyway. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's fascinating, man, that you speak upon this because this is something that's quite relevant to a lot of conversations I'm having at the moment with both issues there. Really, well, one about not just generally the tax, but the idea of you just mentioned then about paying royalties. Now that's something that not many people consider, that when you're doing a project, like say, choosing between songs, you actually got to pay royalties. So this sort of stems back to the question that I'm asked a lot by many people. What's the solution for the moment for bands like you to go out and make money, man? I mean, I'm asked this over and over again. What advice do you give to bands out there thinking?
We brought in so much waste, you don't understand.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with this band. I mean, we're playing this gig tonight, and we have the curse. The Riff Rath curse. Cool. So if we do enough gigs, we're hoping that Paul McCartney and Ringo will then pop off. So then there'll be no one left to pay the royalties to.
And then we're done.
So basically, the more popular we get, more people die, the less royalties we have to pay. Everyone's a winner.
Exactly.
The people that die.
Exactly. But this is the point I'm sort of tapping up on, man. This is one of the things I think people maybe don't realize that copyright was an old, you know, as you know, it's quite prevalent to the old world, but it seems so irrelevant to the world we live in now. But again, they can come back and hit you for a bill, and that's the creepy element of it. It's a bit like, but in,
I believe that you need to engender some kind of money out of it in order to actually pay copyrights, which means that if we paid for a gig and we put the taxman in the set list and we are PRS, we're gonna have to pay, or some money will be reversed to the person who wrote that tune in particular.
Yeah.
If we're recording our version of a tune as a cover and we give it for free, which we did, I don't think there's any kind of a copyright or intellectual property to actually declare.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Either way, you're getting nothing from me, mate.
no, exactly. And the point I was just trying to allude to really is that it seems almost copyright is completely redundant in the age we live in with digital technology, and it's amazing that's what gets me, that there's still, you know, for want of a better word, quite creepy, dark, you know, sinister people out there that still want to come charging and creeping for money, and you think, well, really? I mean, go on.
It's a two-way street, you know. Like, the thing is, you've got people that spend a lot of time writing songs, and understand that these people don't want people to steal what they actually worked so hard at achieving. And in another way, like that's why we're not. I don't really want to cover something too recent or something that.
That's why Jewish lawyers are so popular.
Yeah. I think covers are right if you take like a band like the Beatles, everyone knows the track.
Yeah.
A guy like Jimi Hendrix and his band, obviously, like are quite known enough. They're established, so you know, so I mean, they're geniuses. So doing a cover of them, if people were paying to download the cover, I would understand that most of that money would go back to the person who wrote this tune, which is fair play. But we don't.
The other thing, the other thing is that the only way that it could possibly go from what you've done or what we've done by putting it on YouTube is that it gets really popular, and with every view you clock up, you get paid after, like, you know, certain thousands of views or hundreds of thousands of views. But then I'm going to have to call a lawyer. I mean, you know, but yeah, when that happens, you know, which we know it won't, but never say never.
Cover is cover.
Yeah.
But for me, like, plagiarism, like literally taking someone else's work and kind of making it your own.
So basically, every song I write. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, because I mean that's the element really, because you can get down quite a rabbit hole in this discussion, because ultimately, I mean, you do this. This is one of the things, you know. I mean, there's only X amount of chords you can play, and only X amount of ways you can play them. So I mean, ultimately, everything's been done before. There is no originality.
Yeah, totally. But understand that, you know, as I said, it's a bit, you know, it's pretty hard to wait. It's one of these things when you like understand that a lot of people put a lot of work into something. All the chords have been written, but I think it pushes up. Yeah, it's influencing. I think that if you really understand, if you really want to do something original once again, if you want it to look like you, just at least, as Picasso said, that he said, like, good artists imitate, brilliant artists steal. You just steal the fucking work and you make it your own. By the end of that process, it won't be sounding or looking or smelling anything like the original thing that you based yourself on.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to have influences and to actually go and try and steal from your favorite artists and cover
Blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I can't take shit. You got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, I'm gonna break you. They still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce. I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I can't say shit. You got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, I'm gonna break you.
Hello. Hey. Sorry about that.
Well,
Back again, Jack.
we had the Wi-Fi from the time.
It's all right, man.
And now we've got
You were half-
that's much better.
Yeah.
Faster as well. Sweet.
Dude, you were halfway through a very eloquent sort of soliloquy about the form of being a musician, dude. So carry on, man.
Where did he cut? Because was it me or was it him?
It was you, my man, Chaz.
All right. So where was I exactly?
You,
See what we got to put up with?
It goes too quick. No,
we were basically just on the discussion point about how when you are creating something, there's nothing original in what you're doing. So I think the point you were trying to make is how you like you can't do anything original. It's what you do, man. And I think that's the important thing, dude. Because I mean, it's a question that I think separates the people from like I'm talking now to you as a band, man, and so I think. The reason I like your music and I get off on you and I like listening to your stuff because I think it's the element of you're you show me who you are as humans, man, and that's what separates musicians from everything else, man. You're giving that element of what you've experienced, man, and that's what it's about.
And then James made a very good point that separates us then from musicians again. You know, we really are. Right? Musicians won't be the first word that comes to your mind. Yeah, you'll be getting off soon, mate.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, I don't know. We kind of like, I mean, yeah. For example, I suppose you're talking about that. But the last kind of song I wrote with Charlie, when we were sitting down writing, I got fined 150 quid for having a shit in Glastonbury. I shat in the wrong caravan. And I got fined £150. Not the greatest thing when you're on the come down on the way back from Glastonbury, obviously.
And this is the end of festival poop.
The end of festival shit. I mean, it was a
the worst.
Nice one.
They're the worst.
Exactly. But I was coming back, so it's like, come back. And then when I went to that Charlie house, he's like, oh, you got any ideas for a song? I was like, yeah, I want to write a song about...
You didn't tell him that you had to pick the shit out of the caravan with your own hands.
Yeah, I had to pick the shit out of the caravan with my fingers and stuff. It wasn't very nice.
You had to scoop it out with his own fucking hands, man.
Yeah, it was great. But... in that kind of sense, it was like, oh yeah, I want to write a song about this just to excel my demons, so to speak. But like, so yeah, right. But that kind of thing, we didn't have an idea. But Charlie had like about 6, 7, 8 riffs, just all stuck together, like an ideas loop, little things, blah blah blah. And we literally just cut and pasted stuff together. It's like, oh, well, that one can stick with that one. Oh, we'll write a verse over that one. Oh, that one's all right. Why don't we double that and stick that? And we actually managed to make a song out of like glue by numbers, so to speak, instead of actually sitting there with guitars and going, oh, well, we're going to do that. And yeah, we literally cut and pasted the whole thing together without actually playing anything. All we did was sung over it.
I haven't even learned it yet.
Yeah.
Neither have I.
So, but and whilst at the same time, trying to make an alternative sounding song. With, as you say, about going back to fucking like rock by numbers, usual kind of stuff. So like, But like, it actually came out not too bad. I mean, you know, it's not like a single by any stretch of the imagination, but like, I mean, it worked. We got a song out of it.
Is a single, Butch.
Yeah, and we've got a song called 150 Scoop because that's what I got fined for scooping my shit out.
No, man, the question I've got to ask you guys, man, there was particularly.
He could have just made the fine, which he did do, and someone else would have done it. But because he's a nice bloke, he thought, I could scoop it myself. And he could have saved 150 quid. It's just... Yeah.
So obviously now that you, I mean, almost just tap into what you just said then. When you created a song like... When you are creating new songs, do any of those change in the process of playing live? So obviously you're writing like you are right now. You're writing songs, and you're going to go out in the next couple of weeks, and you'll play a gig. And will any of the tracks change between maybe how they are played in your, in a session when you're recording or rehearsing to actually maybe what they go down and they're dropped on the final cut?
Perfect example, Butchered Park. Yeah, that's changed now because it's one of our earlier tracks. And because we've evolved as a band and, people working together, our stuff's, a little bit more complex and, a little bit more stylistic, and everyone's got their little thing, in there rather than just like sitting in. Thanks, mate.
By the way, we're playing Butcher Park for the first time ever live tonight.
Nice, man.
Yeah, ever. So... And it's not the same version you've got, obviously, like Jesse's saying, it's changed, it's evolved, but it kind of needed to change live because it just didn't have the bite of the recording. Yeah. But we didn't change it a lot. We changed a few bits, we dropped a few bits out, but it's not like nothing significant. But we felt we had to do it because it didn't come across live as it did on the recording. Like, so like, yeah, it changed a few bits. But you've also got to understand, it's like, when that demo you've got, when we first made that demo of that song, we were sitting around pissed out our heads live in a fucking living room, and that was it. That's the fucking demo you've got, you know what I mean? Exactly. It's not like we refined it or anything, we just fucking smashed it out.
Oh, so, an exhibition.
Go away, you! This is an interview. Get out of it. Get out. Sorry, the roadies trying to fucking get involved. Get in the train out. But it changes every song, man. I mean, it depends. I mean, some songs, Charlie's had a couple where you can just write out the whole thing and then bang, and it just comes out and 2 minutes is done. But other ones, I mean, fucking hell, Butcher Park's taken like 15 months to come to the fore. Yeah. Whereas other ones don't, other ones do it, and it depends. And it also depends who's there. I mean, like, sometimes we do Right Since the Girl, we're not all there, 3 of us are there, 2 of us are there, so you've got a different influence every time.
The other thing is, like, I wasn't all that. I didn't think Butcher Park was all that, but so you yourself, another mate of ours, just went like, it's one of your best tracks, and I kind of went, really? Oh, okay. And kind of we revisited it, had a listen, and then you kind of go, fuck, actually, you know what? It is actually a killer track. And yeah, so we've chucked it in the set. We just we sound checked it before. I reckon it sounds pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Without pulling the touch out. No, anyway.
You just need to look at his t-shirt.
Sorry, webcam session. There. Anyway.
Man, so obviously this is, again, man, I always think this, being a creative person myself, man, I think that there's a yin and a yang, and I think the half of the joy of any creative process is exactly where you are right now, though. When we're creating itself, we're actually putting tracks together and building up a kind of, I don't know, some sort of track list that you want to sort of then finalize down. So Dad, in that process, man, how far down the line are you? I mean, obviously you're banging out new tracks now, creating stuff. I mean, there's what, for instance, will you get to, I've talked to bands and they will maybe get down to like 30 tracks and then they narrow that down to like the 10 they want and then they stick with those. I mean, what is that the same with you, or do you have like, no, this is the 10 songs we need to work on?
Yeah. We can't whittle them down that much because we'd have nothing left.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. We don't, if it's not there on the track right away, pretty much we just don't even bother with it because we're perfectionists like that.
But we'll be playing them tonight.
But we'll be playing them tonight to fill in the gaps. But basically, we've got 2 sets now. One that's around about 50 minutes, another one that's at half an hour. You know,
that's the slots we got.
Yeah, that's the slots that we get. So yeah, it's. Yeah,
but we keep on writing fuckload though. He's got a couple new stuff going on. I got a few off his phone the other day that we're working on, and he's bashing some drumming little gems there. So
it's drum and bass.
Is it drum and bass? Next album.
I'm out.
So what's your sort of time scale, man? I mean, obviously, here you are, you're putting these tracks together. I mean, have you got a new time scale where you want to put these together? And what are you thinking? Are you thinking an EP? Are you thinking an album? What's your thoughts?
We got to get that fucking this fucking EP out.
Yeah, we've got
it's mixed now. It's mixed now, so it's going to mastering soon.
Yeah. So you can have a copy very soon. Yeah, very, very soon.
And after that, we're going to go to the studio and record as much tracks as we can with what money...
money we can steal, Nick, right? That's why we bought him a lot of lace. I mean, so, we can get money somehow.
Yeah.
But, we'll be going through people's wallets after the gig.
Yep. That's what we're doing. If they want a signature, an autograph, or whatever, we just beat the fuck out of them and get the money.
That's it. Win-win. Well,
win-win, just win.
Well, man, I think this is, I've spoken to a couple of you men, in private about this, but dude, all I would say to you is not the conversation on this right now, but man, there are solutions coming, man. And I don't know how, I think it's one of my jobs to do what I do here is to tell people like you, man, there's people building away right now. And that's all I want to say, man. I think like everything, it's like when you talk about your new album or new EP or anything, you don't want to talk about it until it's produced, man. But dude, that's all I want to say to you, man. There's a lot of people building solutions, and things are coming, man. So go on. So tell me about the gig tonight, man, and also tell me about the gig you've got quite a few gigs coming up. So sort of for maybe people who are going to catch this interview, tell us where you're playing and what they can expect.
Well, tonight we're at the Fiddler's Elbow in Camden because it's basically our boss's from the Roundhouse's birthday. It's his 50th birthday, nice. So he built lots of horrible seating things. But so we're going to do a gig tonight. Yeah. And this is basically a prelude to the gig we're playing at the Roundhouse on the 28th. So tonight, at least we can work out a rough set list and give it an acid test. And if people are drunk or you won't make it, it gives a fuck. So it gives us a good opportunity to acid test it. And then next week also, we're going to do a gig at New Cross Inn, which has got a new promoter and new stuff. It's just down the road from Charlie's house, which is handy. So
that's still be late.
It'll still be late, yeah. But that's the only reason we got the gig, really. But no.
It's his birthday as well on Friday. So the gig on Thursday will kind of lead into maybe come back to my house and obviously go to bed like good boys.
Yeah. So my birthday, we're having a party. The only way to get a party is his house is to do a gig near his house. So that's why that one worked out. But no. That was more like, like Jesse was saying, that's more of the shorter set, like the 25-minute, half-hour set. So we could do a long set tonight and then work out what was good and wasn't bad, and then maybe change the half-hour set on Thursday. We'll see what happens tonight. But, and then we've got that kind of. And it's all building towards the Roundhouse one at the end of the month, which is going to be like the big one. So we need to get just a bit of rehearsal and a bit of fucking riff wanking under our belt.
We're playing with 3 bands as well there, so we might as well tell the names. So if people are listening, and for you as well, we're playing with a band called Hatfield Rising,
Hatfield Raisins, mate.
Hatfield Raisins.
I'm sorry, I'm trying.
The problems you have with a French frontman. I know.
Great blues rock act. It was great blues rock band coming out of Essex. It was, and what else? We got a local act from the studios downstairs. Couples. So they're part of the youth program that is at the Roundhouse where
the couple.
The couple. Oh, that's it. Sorry. Is that like when you said secretary? How did you say it? Secretary the other day.
Secretary?
No, you didn't. Anyway.
Secretary.
Secretary. That's it. It sounds something like you do on the toilet. Secretary, boys. I might be some time.
There's a problem with traveling that party, to be surrounded by a bunch of dickheads. They're always-
No, in general.
Exactly. I'm that close to Britain first. I'm that close.
He's outnumbered. There's not a chance. So Couples, Hatfield Rising, and Infinite Thread is the other one, which is a guy that I work with at the Roundhouse. His stone rock acts. Some talent in that, man. I just can't wait to see everyone like get up there and do their thing, and it's a good opportunity.
Goose Island as well.
Yes.
Good mate to Goose
Thanks
Island.
to Goose Island. You gave us lots of nice free bit. Can we have some more?
We drank it.
We've drank it already. We've got the rider left.
Yes.
And
Anything to be learned, it's don't give us the rider a month before the gig.
and
Even a day before the gig, really.
man, Jesse, I can't kind of feel I can before I wrap this interview up, man. I have to ask you about something you mentioned earlier. I've been pestering you about it. You're going to tell me the story about why you didn't get the Stone Free gig recorded. What happened there, man?
Oh.
Because they forgot to press play.
No. I did hit record, right? But some stupid idiot, maybe didn't point the camera up enough. And just basically,
They recorded the whole gig of his fucking foot. Say, man.
sounds great.
Yeah. You never seen it vibrate so bad.
Yeah, man. But yeah, the reasons.
So yeah, just take a freeze frame and then draw one of those wanker things.
I have a good message for the new bands that start out there. Just get a guy that can fucking wiggle with a camera or something. I'll give it to you.
You can't do both, mate. You can't play awesome riffage. And anyway. All right.
On that note,
Yeah.
Well, dude, to all of you, man, it's been, well, as always, dude, it's an insightful conversation when I chat with you chaps. I'm looking forward, as I said before, man, and again, the door's always open, man. And when you get these new, any new tracks out, you feel free, and we'll come on in. We'll do anything to raise awareness, man. I want to finish with, They Still Call Me Bruce. So while I'm queuing this up, man. Only because you put it out since our last conversation. It's up on SoundCloud, man. So tell me about that. And as I said before, chaps, have a great gig. Anything you can. I'll obviously do I can to raise awareness of your gigs and push you for.
I've got the Bruce Lee t-shirt on. Check it out.
It is from Bruce Lee.
So this is Bruce is a weird one. I can't. I woke.
You need to cue the song.
All right, full stop. Boom. Woke up one morning, had this riff in my head. And just watched a movie called They Still Call Me Bruce. Simple ass lyrics. Came to the studio with it. Within 5 minutes, we had it down. Not even 5 minutes, and we had a song out of it. And it was around about 2.5.
Yeah, and it was near Bruce Lee's 70th birthday
as well.
Hence why I got the.
Exactly.
If he'd have been alive the day he wrote it, he would have died.
Well, on that note,
Without transition, here comes They Still Call Me Bruce.
This is They Still Call Me Bruce, people. I hope you enjoy it. We're the Riff Rath. That's RIFFRATH.
Is that the new version?
Yeah, sweet.
No, it was. See people.
I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I can't take shit. You got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide. I'm gonna break it. They still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce. eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I can't take shit. You got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, I'm gonna break you. They still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce, they still call me Bruce. Oh, I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I got blood in my eyes, I can't stay. You got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide, you got nowhere to hide. I'm gonna break you. They still call me Bruce.